The hero in Baltimore is a mother who wanted to keep her son from becoming a victim. But what does it say when we are applauding this moment of possible sanity when her kid was out on the streets being part of the problem in the first place? President Obama got something right with regard to the Baltimore riots. The Iranians are getting better and bolder at playing war games, and plenty of people will make their election decisions based on jokes. I'm Ed Berliner. Toss out the fuzzy questions. Get to the point. This is The Hardline for April 29th, 2016. Put it in gear with this snapshot.
Go! 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 Don't give him a reason. Go! Do not give him a reason. Do not give him a reason. Do not give him a reason. Listen to me. Do not give him a reason.
We should make sure every police department in the country has body cameras to record interactions between officers on patrol and suspects. It's time to end the era of mass incarceration. We need a true national debate about how to reduce our prison population while keeping our communities safe.
There are a few factors that have encouraged us, or we should not stop this, because we have a very creative and very dynamic team. We have a very strong engineering team, the production team, and in the meantime, being a leading TV company in the country, and particularly in this crisis situation, I think that's our major responsibility to at least inform the people.
My son is actually coming across the street with this hoodie on and a mask. At that point, I just lost it. And he gave me eye contact. And at that point, not even thinking about cameras or anything like that. That's my only son. And at the end of the day, I don't want him to be a Freddie Gray. But to stand up there and vandalize police officers, get over here now! That's not justice.
Perhaps Baltimore needs more moms like that, willing to take matters into their own hands, literally, as she beat and berated her son for preparing to riot in the streets. Add to this a quiet Camden Yards with a fan-less baseball game and a 10 o'clock curfew that was not strictly enforced on night one. Are these the elements that will help to ratchet down the tension, calm a community crippled by violent protesters, or is this all just a momentary surface quiet that will only boil up again? Let's welcome to the Hardline National Chairman for the National Black Police Association, Malik Aziz. Malik, pleasure to have you back on the show.
Oh, I'm glad to be back, Ed.
Malik, what does it say about a culture where we have to wait and watch for a mother to go out in the streets and basically berate her son, a son that potentially was about to become part of the problem and about to become part of a riot? What does that say about us?
Yeah, I tell you what, she gets my vote for Mom of the Year. She reminds me of my mother. I wish we had more mothers like that to get out there and take control of a situation and not want them to be part of the problem. There's nothing wrong with having a peaceful protest, but if you go out with intent to commit violent acts of vandalism or just anarchy or chaos and add to disorder, then that's not protest. And I'm not going to agree with any group of people who go out and do that.
Well, look at this, Malik. I want to point this out while we're seeing the videotape here, because the son has a hood on, he has his face covered, he has gloves on, he is dressed in black. It is obvious that he is looking to hide himself, that he is potentially ready to do harm, ready to be part of this riot. What does this say, though? And as cops look at it, too, knowing full well that there are kids, people of all ages, who are ready to do this at a moment's notice, get out on the streets, burn, riot, and perhaps kill somebody.
Yeah, and I agree. The opportunists and ignorance plays a big role, and we don't do enough. There's not enough service, not enough justice being done. We're not paying close enough attention to our young guys, to our young black males who feel it's okay to go out there and do that. That's not the old way. It's not the right way. It's not the proper way. And yet we still see people playing into this because there's a certain fringe group that says it's okay. Now, I do think some of the people in Baltimore, some of the citizens who come out, in the past couple of days or yesterday with the pastors and the other religious groups, and to some certain extent, even some people we've labeled as thugs who said, wait a minute, we don't want this to happen. That should have happened the first day. shouldn't have happened the second day.
You know, you bring up a good point here too, Malik, because several politicians, and at least one in Baltimore, was recently berated because he called the people on the streets thugs. And then he was forced to back up, and he called them basically just, well, maybe they just had a moment. Maybe they didn't mean to do it. Come on now, Malik. Don't we need to start being a little harder edged here and say that the people who do this carry weapons, come out, makes no difference. Black, white, green, blue, male, female, whatever they do this, they are thugs. They are criminals at this point, and the cops are the ones who are on the front line who have to face this.
I can tell you this. Certainly, some of them appear to be thugs to me. Anytime you're burning a building or you're committing a violent act or vandalism, you may not like the word thug, but that's certainly thug behavior. So I'm not going to disagree with anybody who label people as thugs who go out and do thuggish things. So if you're going to be an upright citizen and you're going to have a peaceful protest and get some dialogue going in what appears to be a tragic situation, and we want to talk across the lines, then you do exhibit thug behavior when you go out and do those things.
Isn't it fair to say that when somebody uses that word, because Malik, you and I both know that word a lot of times has a very racial connotation to it, but you have to call it what it is in situations like this. You cannot hide. Isn't that part of the issue here, that we spend way too much time hiding from the truth and using simple words?
Oh, I agree, but I'll say this: if a month ago, when the fans were upset in Kentucky over the loss, when the Big Blue lost, and they was out there turning over cars, there was some people who called them thugs. And you know what? Thug behavior fits. Thug behavior crosses racial lines. So if you're committing violent acts, if you're vandalizing property, doesn't belong to you, and committing chaos and disorder, thugs crosses racial lines. So it doesn't matter.
What does this say then, Malik, though, to the cop on the beat? The black cop, the white cop, the female cop, the male cop, whatever, who has to face off against this, knowing full well that there is a swarm coming at them. They don't know who it is. They don't have time to sit there and think about, this might just be a couple of kids who got out of school a little bit early and they're upset about something. Don't the cops have to look at this as a threat, not only to the community, but to themselves as well?
And that's exactly what they're doing in Baltimore. They're looking at it as a threat. And it's so hard trying to get people to understand that these are not related. You can't come and commit a violent act or throw rocks or throw, steel pipes or things like that at police officers and not expect a police officer to take action, because those things can cause serious injury or even death. So police officers are going face to face with this. And this is what happens when 95%, 97% of our great police officers go out and put their lives on the line and confront violent acts on a day-to-day basis. Because what happened to Gray should not, reflect on the good men and women who are out there to still offer protection and service on a day-to-day basis. So yeah, we face that threat daily, Ed, and it's problematic that people are making a sweeping indictment of all police officers, that every time an incident happens, that all of us become villains. We become the people who committed the atrocity because we wear a blue uniform and we serve the citizens, and all of us are being painted with the same broad brush. And no culture, no people, or no unit or profession should be done that way.
I have about a minute left here. It was in 1992 that the riots erupted in Los Angeles when the cops were acquitted in the Rodney King case. 1992 to 2016. Malik, it seems as if we haven't learned anything since 1992.
Yeah, the LA riots was one thing, and I think it repeats itself. You can go back to even the Watch riots. We haven't learned any lesson when it comes to will rioting change the behavior. The only thing that we know can change the behavior is an open dialogue and transparency, and two sides willing to negotiate and compromise for a better future. For the places that we live. Rioting would never do that. It hasn't progressed anything that I've ever seen. And we're going to keep repeating these same lessons if we don't take one step back and say, let's talk to each other. Let's work these things out. There's enough wrongs committed on both sides for us to take one foot forward. And we're just not doing that across the board.
And maybe let's stop falling back on all the same old excuses and start to look for the real reasons why, at the core of why these things happen. Malik, it is always a pleasure to have you on the show, my friend. I'm certain we're going to talk about this. I know you're going to go to Baltimore later on this week, so I'll look forward to talking to you soon. Thanks so much.
Thanks. Appreciate you.
All right. Take care. We should also point out that the police in Baltimore, authorities there say on Friday, they are going to say something finally about why this happened and what happened in that police van. The Hard Line continues.